Welcome to the Vacation Races and Friends podcast, a podcast about events, travel, and the people who love both. Find more episodes at vacationraces.com. Welcome, everybody, to the Vacation Races and Friends podcast. I'm Colleen, the announcer for Vacation Races. Excited to be back with you because we're going to be talking Great Smoky Mountain Half Marathon. It's hard to believe that it's already September, and here we are making our way to Tennessee. It's exciting. We were back there last year during COVID. We were able to do this event, and it was very successful last year, and we look forward to another successful year in Townsend, Tennessee. You're definitely in for a treat. This is one of my most favorite courses. I don't say that about every single course, but this one really is. I really love it. It's got some beautiful characteristics to it. We're going to talk about it all. So hold on. With me, what I've got today is Dane Craig. Dane, what do we call you? The COO, the head dog? What do we call you?
I like the head dog.
I like the head dog.
Yeah, the head dog, Great Dane.
The Great Dane.
The DGD.
The DGD, the Great Dane.
The Great Dane.
Okay, I like it. I like it.
You know, for the intents and purposes of this, I'm just the race director for the Great Smoky Mountains Half Marathon.
Awesome. All right. So the Great Dane, he is the race director. And then we also have Brett here. We're having to have Brett because Brett does all our race operations. So Brett, say hello and tell us all about you. You're new to the podcast today.
Oh, I am new and I'm very excited to be here. Like Colleen said, I am the race operations director, which usually my role is everything from start to finish with you guys. I coordinate and line everything up for you. Aid stations and porta potties and the ambulance and everything else that you guys encounter from start to finish. This race I am co-directing with Dane, so just taking on a little bit of a different role and learning from the best. Happy to be here.
Brett does a bunch of heavy lifting. You've got the crew of heavy lifters.
Yeah, there's a few meatheads on the crew. That's all right.
It's good. We need them. There's a lot to set up. There's a lot that goes into it. How big is the crew that's coming to Great Smoky Mountains with you, Brett?
Crew's usually 8 people. Okay. Some of the bigger races will have a few more. I think we've got 8 coming out. Navy Dalton, who is doing our gravel bike series,
our new gravel series,
is co-operations director on this race. So he's kind of heading it up this race, and I'm helping him out on that. So it'll be him and 8 others, and then I'll kind of step in a little bit and help as they go.
Wow, we got a lot of heavy hitters around here for Great Smoky Mountains. It's going to be great. Well, I'm excited.
Yep.
So yeah, we're shuffling a few things at Vacation Races. So some of these events we're able to use as opportunities to gain new experiences and transition into roles and get some training and things like that. And so, so this is one of them.
Oh, that's great. I think it just makes for more people to be there. And make sure when you see the crew out there as well, make sure to give them a high five. You'll know they'll have crew written on their back. But they're out there working hard, making sure you've got a great course set up. And Vacation Races crew, one of the best. They absolutely are. And I know you guys know that as well. If you are new to Vacation Races, though, one thing that I want you to do is I want you to go back into your podcasting app, wherever you listen to your podcast, and I want you to pull up our Welcome podcast. So if you've never run with us before and you want to know a little bit more about Vacation Races and maybe about the things that we do, we have this great orientation podcast that'll kind of get you familiar with how Vacation Races is different and some of the different things that we do as opposed to other races that you've been at. It's also a great way to dive in and get the lay of the land for what a Vacation Races event will look like when you're there, and then come back to this podcast and listen to the specifics about the Great Smoky Mountains course and all of the experiences that we are going to share with you with this podcast. So if you're new, welcome. We're so glad you're here, but go back and listen to that Welcome and Orientation podcast. It will be really helpful for you. Nerding out on data, perfecting the optimal training and nutrition plan, aiming for progression in PRs. Sound like you? Well, Gnarly Nutrition can relate. Featuring a full line of honest sports nutrition products, Gnarly provides the best nutrition possible for all types of mountain athletes. Because they offer great tasting and reputable products, Vacation Races trust Gnarly to be the on-course hydration sponsor. With the low-calorie, high-electrolyte Gnarly Hydrate for shorter races and the calorie, electrolyte, and amino acid-filled Gnarly Fuel 2.0 for longer races. Gnarly is here, taking the bonking out of your big day. Use code VACATION15 during checkout at GoGnarly.com for 15% off. Let's just dive in, guys. Again, I love this course. I absolutely love this course. Dane, why don't you kind of give the people the visual of what this course is all about and why we chose it for Vacation Races?
So this race takes place it ends in Townsend, Tennessee, which is called the peaceful side of the Smokies. It's just this really quiet, sleepy town on that side of the Smokies, a short drive from Knoxville. It's just a really, really great community. We love it there. They're very welcoming, but it's kind of away from a lot of the bustle of a lot of the tourist areas nearby, which are great. And we love those areas too. And they're a lot of fun, but the whole vibe in the town just is what we shoot for at Vacation Races. It's very familial. It's quiet. It's just this great community. So the race starts at Murrayville High School. It's Heritage. It's Heritage High School, but
right.
It's in Murrayville.
Right.
And then it ends in Townsend, Tennessee, and you're just running along Old Walland Highway, right along the river. And it's just, you hear the ramble of the river. You get views of the Smoky Mountains. Often when we start, you're just in the fog. So it's the best kind of Smoky Mountains experience that we could create just outside of the park boundaries.
Yeah, and I absolutely love the course because it's kind of a rolling profile. A lot of times people will look at this course profile and be like, oh my gosh, it's all the way uphill. Well, technically speaking, yes, you are running against the river towards the mountains, but if anything,
it doesn't feel like
no,
it though. Yeah.
It doesn't. I've run this course many times, and if anything, the course just feels really flat is what it feels like. You might have a couple of little rollers in there. There's nothing big to speak of. The rollers are not more than 400, 500 feet in length, and they're not very steep, and you kind of get up and over them, and it just kind of feels flat. So don't feel intimidated.
Some of the feedback we do get sometimes is there is one section where the road's kind of pitched a little bit, like
cambered,
yes, NASCAR track, yeah. And then there is areas where it kind of rolls off, and so so it feels a little uneven. I mean, it's flat, it's paved, but after a few miles of running like that, your right side is getting a little hammered because it's going down a little bit further than the left, and so your hips are adjusting for that. So that's one thing to be aware of. But aside from that, it's a really straightforward course, flat, paved. It's a beautiful, it's a peaceful course on the peaceful side of the Smokies, Colleen.
No, it really is, Dane. I think that's perfect.
My other favorite thing is all the people that comment. They're like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to do it elevation. I guess this segment of the race of the podcast is directed towards those runners coming from Florida, but
yes, in Texas,
400 feet above sea level is not elevation. No. That's just, you're just on like the 10th floor of an apartment building. Like you're going to be fine. It's not at elevation.
No, we are definitely.
You don't need to worry about altitude or acclimating or anything like that.
No, and I always laugh when people say that. They're always like, "Oh, we're going up in the mountains. It's going to be kind of elevation." I was like, "No, come to Rocky Mountain with us if you want to experience some high elevation. Here in the Smokies, no, you are just barely above. Like you said, the fourth floor. You're on the fourth floor, so it's not going to be too bad." That's good stuff. All right, well, let's dive in and kind of go through what this is going to look like, go over the schedule, and then we'll kind of get into some of those specifics that we want to talk about. As far as everything's getting kicked off on Friday, we're going to have an expo. Dane, will you kind of explain, if people have been running with us during COVID, how is this going to be different? Is it different? Expo starts at 10 o'clock on Friday.
Yeah, so expo at 10 o'clock on Friday. Over the last year, we have made adjustments to our expos. in regards to COVID and COVID compliance and safety and things like that. We've done drive-through bid pickups, things of that nature. But it feels weird to say this right now while there's the Delta variant, and it feels like we're right back where we were last year right now. But we are kind of getting back to normal with our expos and bid pickup and things like that. The studies have shown that there's very minimal, like an event like this is very, very low risk. It's outdoors, it's in the open, lots of space for people to space out and move around. And so our expo is a normal expo. It'll run from 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And you can come, there's plenty of parking. And then we're just out in a big field. We'll have pop-up tents, and we'll be doing bid pickup. You'll get your race shirts and your Hydro Pouch if you need it. We'll have merchandise. We'll have a few vendors. We've omitted a few things.
S'mores, no s'mores.
Yeah, things that would encourage kind of just hanging out. Like there's no s'mores, and we won't have our hammocks there to lounge in and things like that. But otherwise, it's just the normal expo with a few vendors. So that'll run from 10 to 5. You just need to bring your ID. We'll send out an email at the week of the race with a QR code that just allows us to scan and look you up a lot faster to get you your bib, but you don't need it. We can look you up by your last name. So you bring your QR code, you bring your ID, and you can pick up bibs for friends also. We just need a picture of their ID or some way to identify that you're picking it up for them. And you get your bib and hang out and check out the merch tent, check out some of our vendors, enjoy the humidity, and that's it. It's pretty simple. There is also an option for those of you who can't attend Friday to pick up your bib. No sweat, at the start line Saturday morning, we'll also have bib pickup. So if you can't get there Friday, or if you're off exploring in the park and don't want to take the time to come pick it up, or your flight gets in late or anything like that, you can just come Saturday morning and pick that up from us.
Great. All right. So Expo is going to run 10 to 5. Please don't come before 10. We can't service you before 10, but 10 o'clock, we're going to be on the ball and ready to go. So just plan for that. Some people like to show up at like 8:30 and are like, can I grab my bib? No, we're just not ready. We can't really accommodate that before 10. So make sure you're there at 10, and it'll be easy to find just there at the Tally Ho. Townsend is not a difficult town to navigate. Let's put it that way. And the race course is not difficult to navigate either. It's all kind of in one straight line. So if you find your way through Townsend, you'll find us. It's not going to be hard to find, so don't worry about that.
One quick disclaimer to calling, or I guess warning, is for the expo, often people get there and they're anxious to get their bib and move on with their day. And so right at opening, right at 10 a.m. is when we tend to be the busiest. So from about 10 to noon is when you can expect us to be busiest. And then again at around 3:30 to 5, right as we're getting ready to close, especially with an event like this where we have the 5K that evening. Everybody wants to show up right there at the end to get their bib. And so about 10 to noon, and then again 3:30 to 5 is when we're for sure going to be our busiest. So if you can manage it, if it works with your schedule, try and shoot for the hours in between, just between around noon and 3. That's when we tend to be a little slower. And so that would be a good time to come.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion, Dane, to make sure to kind of come at that off time, or else you're going to get there. Some people are like, well, I'm running the 5K. I'll get there at 4:45 to pick up my bib. That's probably not the best plan. It's just going to be really difficult. And we're going to have about 1,100, as of right now, about 1,100 racers in the 5K, probably a few more. That is still open for registration. And our half marathon, we're going to have just over 2,000 people. So we do have a lot of people to get through bib pickup. So take Dane's advice. I think that's really good advice. Brett, I have a question for you. Tell us about kind of the weather to expect. Let's talk about the weather for the 5K and the weather for the half marathon. What should we pack? What should we be expecting?
Well, our ultra series that we do, which is anything over marathon distance. I heard an old boy tell a bunch of people once that how you run an ultra is start out slow and then slow down. So with regards to the heat, it's probably going to be warm and humid, and it's probably going to get more warm and humid. So within the days leading up, make sure you're plenty hydrated, and before the race, after the race, stay hydrated. And along Old Wallen Highway, there's some shade. That's a beautiful part of the course. Once you get out of there, you're going to be exposed the last little bit. So keep hydrated. And
yeah, it definitely is humid. If you're not from Tennessee, like most of the race crew. We get there and it's just like, what is this? It's really, really sticky. The 5K can be pretty warm. The 5K, of course, is going to start at about 6 o'clock, just after 6 o'clock p.m. So it tends to be a really warm part of the day. And Brett, I think you hit it on the nose where if you're not in the tree cover, if you're not in the shade, it can feel pretty warm. So just kind of know that as you're packing and things like that. A rogue shower, a thunderstorm is something that happens in that area sometimes. It's usually quite a warm storm. We saw an epic storm a few years ago after the 5K. It was like one of the most incredible lightning and thunderstorms I'd ever heard of. But we are in the mountains, and so you can experience some of that. But generally, I think it's just going to be hot and sticky. Dane, would you agree that this is probably one of our warmest events?
Oh, yeah, for sure it is. I think, yeah, we have gear check. So for our half marathons, where if runners want to wear extra layers in the morning before they start the race, they can drop it in a bag that we provide for them, write their bib number on it. We take it to the finish line. And this race sees the least number of gear check bags, and we also go through the least amount of hot chocolate and coffee, just because even early in the morning it's still well, it's pleasant early in the morning. It's warm, it's humid, and then like Brett said, it only gets hotter. So it's probably our hottest race. And like Brett said too, you really got to focus on your hydration, especially leading up to the race day, and especially on course. If you're not accustomed to the humidity, if you've never dealt with it before, or you haven't had a lot of experience with it, it's not like when you're thirsty in a dry heat and you know that you need water. Like you're wet, you're sweating, it feels wet in the air, and you don't think, oh, I really need to hydrate, I really need liquid. But you do. You're sweating, you're losing a lot of electrolytes, and so you just really got to make sure you stay on top of your hydration during the race.
And Brett, what do we have as far as electrolytes on the course? I think that's one of the most important things for this. On the 5K and the half marathon, we will have electrolytes. What do we have out there?
What we offer is Gnarly.
Okay.
There's a few different flavors. We have Honey Stinger gels as well, but as far as the electrolyte hydration, we've got Gnarly.
Okay, so the Gnarly definitely. You'll find that in the red jugs at the aid stations. 5K will have a 1 aid station and then 6 aid stations on the half marathon. So plenty of opportunities for you to stay hydrated, but that's some good advice right there. The humidity, if you're not used to it, though a lot of times at this race, we do have a lot of people from Florida or the Carolinas or Georgia coming up, and they're like, this isn't humid. And the rest of us from the desert are like, are you kidding me? Like, what?
Yeah, I think it's worse for us that live in the desert. Everyone talks about, oh, it's a dry heat, which when you go places like that, I know what people are talking about, but yeah, it's probably worse on us than anyone else in the area. So it's us that I think a lot of times forgets to stay hydrated and things like that as we're out working and whatever. But
yeah, no, you're absolutely you're right, because it's such a different kind of heat. So the 5K, as far as the 5K course, what is that going to look like, Brett? If we're doing the 5K, kind of take me through where we're going to stage that 5K. Of course, start time is at 6 o'clock. You need to pick that bib up before 5 o'clock for the 5K. This is all talking about Friday. And then we're going to line up our runners. What is that going to look like, and how's that flow going to be to get to the start?
So right just south of the expo is where our 5K staging area will be. Everyone will just kind of line up there, and when we get ready at 5:45, we will escort everybody down out of the parking lot, down to the road. We'll stop traffic and we'll escort everybody across the road. Once we get across the road, we we'll do our thing and start it's not a full staggered start. It's just kind of going to be more of a rolling start. About, I don't know, 500-600 feet from where we're starting is a major road crossing. So we'll coordinate with the police department there. And that's kind of why we have to do a little bit of a rolling start to get some people across that intersection, let traffic go, and then get some more across there. But once you cross that intersection, the rest is pretty smooth sailing.
Okay, great. So you're going to, where you line up and stage close to the expo, that's not the actual start line. That's going to be just across the street, but you're just going to stage right there. Just stay right there, and then we'll take care of it. We'll have you stage within your waves. Everybody will have a wave color that they're going to be put in. It's going to be on your bib. You'll be able to see what wave you're in on your bib. It's just written right there on your bib. And then look for those wave signs, and then our team will take you across the road so that we can work. Again, we have 1,100 people or more that are going to be here. So those road crossings really become really congested when we have that many people. So we're doing our best to kind of make it a little bit better for that. So 5K, that's what you can expect kind of for staging and to get started. Yeah, I think, Dane, is there anything else that you can think about the 5K that's important that we need to remind everybody of?
The only thing that I can think of on the 5K, so we start on the opposite side of the road, like Brett said, but we run down, and then after about a mile and a half, about halfway into the course, or about, I think it's at about mile 2, then there's a tunnel that goes under the road, and that's what runners cross through and then come back to the finish line there at the Tally Ho Inn. We have an aid station set up right about near there where they cross under the tunnel, and sometimes runners, especially some of our faster runners, you just kind of get in the zone or in the running mindset, and you stop at the aid station, get what you need, and then you just take off and keep going again. But it's really kind of just after there we have our arrows and cones telling you to take that turn to go under the road. And so just be alert and aware of those so that you don't breeze right past that and run a half mile the wrong direction or something like that.
And
it's really well marked. It's pretty self-explanatory, but we did have a few people miss it last year. They were distracted by something and just blew right through it. And so that's the only thing I can think of, is make sure you follow the course markings, and we'll lead you right back to the finish line.
And it is a multi-use path that you're going to be on when you're running this 5K. So that also, as we do a rolling start, that's going to help kind of stretch it out a little bit so it won't be so crowded. But we need to have a little bit of patience as well when those multi-use paths, as they can get a little bit crowded, and we want to be careful of that. And so faster runners, that's why we use the waves. Faster runners will be appointed in the waves to be in the earlier part of the wave, so that hopefully we have everybody within the group that they would feel comfortable running with. And so that's why we have those waves. So stay in the waves, because that's going to help with crowding as well. So, okay, so 5K is going to be straightforward. Like I said, we're going to have a huge group. It's always a fun 5K. It's a great way to kick off this Great Smoky Mountain Half Marathon weekend. What's fueling your race? Is nature powering your run? Nature's Sunshine puts the power of nature into your hands with world-class herbs and supplements, protein powders, and active nutrition formulas designed to keep you healthy for the long haul. With nearly 50 years of expertise and an impeccable reputation for excellence in the natural health industry, we're proud to partner with Vacation Races to offer you 15% off your order. Just use promo code NSPVR at checkout. That's NSPVR. Live better, climb higher, dream bigger, dig deeper, and power your game with the power of nature at naturesunshine.com. Brett, we've got shuttles involved with our half marathon. Can you explain kind of the shuttles and where the shuttles are taking us and where parking is going to be available for that half marathon?
Yes, but first I want to back up for a half second to the 5K.
Go for it.
I'm just going to throw this out there. I think the same person has won the 5K like the last 4 years in a row. So bring your A game.
Okay.
And let's see if we can get a.
Brett's extending a challenge.
I like that, Brett.
I'm not putting anyone down for being first every time. That's awesome, but bring your running shoes, and let's see if somebody can take the king down.
Well, before we go to shuttles, if we're going to talk about that, I was looking at the course records on this course, and I don't have the 5K in front of me, but the half marathon, it's a 109, you guys.
Yeah,
a 109. This is a fast course. The 5K is fast. The half marathon is fast. So, Brett, you're right. Like, there's going to be some good competition here. And I think it's Glenn Burkhart who holds our half marathon at that 109. And we got a new female record at a 121 back in 2019, I believe. So
it was just last year.
Oh, it was just last year. Okay, maybe it's our female masters. Okay.
Katie Taylor, 121, just from from last year, 2020.
So this is not a slow course. So I like that, Brett, that you're dropping the hammer.
Yeah.
Let's bring some competition out there. And you know what? If you want to walk and be untimed and do a fun run, that's fine as well. We'll let you do
that's fine too. Okay, sorry. Back to the half. So Saturday morning, 4:30, parking opens. Please don't come before that. Kind of like the expo. 4:30 parking opens.
And Brett. Okay, Brett, I'm going to interrupt you for a second because I always get this question at Race Info at the expo. Can I sleep in my car or my van or whatever in the parking lot?
I'm sorry, Colleen, but you cannot.
Gosh,
we really like
darn
you, but we can't do that. It's kind of a logistic nightmare for us, and we'd like to be accommodating, but there's just too many things that can happen, and so we would ask you please not to try to park in the parking lot.
Go someplace else and don't tell us where you're parking and sleeping.
Yep.
And honestly, Colin, we wish you would stop trying to get away with it.
I've been trying it every single race, and somebody knocks on my window in the middle of the night and is like, "Why'd you park so crazy? Get out of the way." All right,
okay,
so
sure.
no overnight parking at the parking lot. It opens at 4:30.
Opens at 4:30. First shuttles are scheduled to leave at 5:15. It's about an 18-minute round trip for the buses. They'll come back. So you're going to park behind the tally ho there, and we'll have a balloon light for you. But you can walk down to that, walk across the road, and the shuttles will pick you up just directly across the road from where you pull in. We'll get you on the shuttle, bring you over. And like I said, it's 18-minute round trip. They'll come back. Last shuttle is leaving the tally ho at 6 a.m.
Okay.
So if you can be there before 6 a.m., that'll get you there in time that we can get everything going at the start line.
Okay, that sounds
And
great.
I believe we're going to have a raffle this year.
Yeah, the raffle's coming back for the first time since COVID. I love that. That's good stuff. So 4:30 parking opens, 5:15 that first shuttle's headed out, and then the shuttles will just load and leave as people get on them, load and leave until, did you say 6 o'clock, Brett?
Yeah, 6 o'clock
Okay.
is the last scheduled shuttle, and
Okay, that's
we'll have bananas and hot chocolate and coffee for you there if you feel like it. We'll also have some water.
great. Okay, perfect. And Dane, what about on the shuttles? As far as COVID goes with masks, what do we expect on the shuttles?
So generally for the event, anytime it's we're in a crowded space or congregated, like I said before, we're outdoors. There's plenty of space to spread out, and it's very, very low risk environment. But when we do have to congregate or we're in close proximity to each other, then we recommend using face coverings, regardless of vaccination status. So in the start line queue or when you finish the race, it'd be a good idea and courteous to do that. And then on the shuttles themselves, we will ask everyone to wear face coverings while on the shuttle.
Okay.
And we'll have some there available in case you didn't bring your own. Typically runners will run with a buff or something that's easy to pull up and pull down. But we'll have some disposable ones on our shuttles for those that don't bring them. So please wear face coverings on the shuttles.
Okay, perfect. So make sure to stash one of those in your packs as you're coming so you can put that on the shuttle. The shuttle's really straightforward. Always explaining this course to people. I'm like, it's 13 miles that way. It's just straight up the road at Heritage High School. One thing about that's unique to this whole shuttle and start line situation is there is absolutely positively no parking at the start line. Dane, tell us why. Because you don't want to drive anybody's car back to the finish. That's why.
Yes. So unless you're driving a car that would be very fun to drive,
right?
For me,
right. Do not.
What Colleen is alluding to, at Heritage High School, we use the parking lot to drop off and to stage the start. But then once we're out of there, they come and they lock those gates up. And sometimes they have sporting events and other things like that. And so if your car's there, you're going to get locked in the high school. So we have no parking at the start line. But inevitably, every year, someone will drive up frantic at 6:58 right before the start and be like, I didn't know where to go, so I'm here. Can I start the race? And one of our staff will have to drive their car back to the start line, which is not something I'm comfortable doing for liability issues, but also because they're like driving like a 96 Corolla or something.
92.
And I'm like, okay. Yeah. No, there's like never never Aston Martins. There's never
No,
like
you don't have a good Mercedes Benz or a nice
no, never an
Tesla or
Audi or a
something. Yeah.
BMW. Nothing ever real sporty.
And we run out of
So
staff as well. We only have so much staff, and they all have to take the other vehicles down. So no parking at the start line, but there is
yeah,
drop off available.
there is drop off at the start line. That's correct, but that's drop and go. Like that's not here. Come park and wait and see your runner run their race and then leave. Like we want you to pull in, kick your runner out, and then
We'll kick you
leave.
out. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't even just tap those brakes. Just like tell them to tuck and roll. Don't even stop the car. Just drop and drive.
I like that.
Don't drop and drive.
Drop and drive. That's what our drop off policy is. Drop and drive.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. So drop off at the start line, but absolutely no parking. So
Okay.
plan accordingly.
Plan accordingly. All right. We will have, again, raffles are back. You guys, this is the first time raffles are back. Your raffle ticket is going to be on your bib. If you're running the Black Bear Double, your raffle ticket doesn't get turned in until the half marathon, the morning of the half marathon. But after the raffles, we're going to line everybody up in these waves again. So, Brett, will you kind of talk through the waves and what the waves are, how they're assigned, and how they're going to function to help us start this whole half marathon?
Yeah, as we get close to the national anthem, your pacers will have the wave banner up, and so you'll just kind of start congregating around them. And then after we have the anthem, then the first wave, which is, I don't recall what
Blue
color.
wave, our blue wave.
Blue wave. We'll head down. It's just a short walk out of the parking lot down to the start line. And then as your wave is called, you'll just follow the banner up to the start line and get going.
Yeah, so it should be pretty easy. And again, we have different waves according to your projected finish time. So, if you're a faster runner, you've probably been seated in the blue wave. But if you get your bib and you realize there's not a wave on there, a wave color assigned to you, or you're like, man, when I signed up, I didn't realize how fast I would be, and I'm a little bit faster. It's okay if you go with that, with a wave that's a little bit faster. We do need you to stay within the waves. We don't want everybody switching all over the place because the waves are important for our whole organization and making sure that you guys get out safely on the course. But if you need to drop back or you need to move forward in a wave, that's totally fine. One thing to remember is that for our overall awards, if you're running one of these fast course record-setting times, or maybe just competing for those course records or an overall award, you want to be in that first wave that Brett talked about that goes down first. That's the blue wave, because your awards are going to be based off of gun time. So as soon as that gun goes off at 7 a.m., that's when your race starts. So you will be competing on that gun time at that 7 a.m. start. So if you're a faster competitive runner for those overall masters or overall open awards, then you want to be in that first wave. If you're just there having a great time, you're competitive within your age group, that's all on chip time. So everybody has an electronic chip on their bib, and it doesn't matter what wave you're in. You compete just based off that chip time, which starts as soon as you cross that start line. So pretty easy as far as the waves go. And like Brett said, the pacers will be there holding up the big colored signs that have your wave color on them. And so find those, and then we'll just get you to the start line. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, right? I mean, Dane?
They're big signs. They're 4
huge.
feet tall, 2 feet wide, have a big color square on them. They're pretty hard to miss.
Well, and you can't miss our pacers, right, Dane? I mean, the pacers are wearing their yellow gear, and we'll have a whole bunch of Beast Pacing team out there.
Yep, that's right. We usually have 2 pacers for each time,
Projected
each pace group.
time.
So
Yeah, so we'll have our pacers, and they'll help us out, and then we'll get out there and we'll get started. We'll have our photographers out on the course. You'll get free race photos. That's one unique thing about vacation races. What else about this start line, Dane, can you think of?
For the start line, I think that's it for the start line.
It's pretty straightforward.
We'll have toilets at the far end of the parking lot. We'll kind of group everybody up there and then take you down one group at a time to the start line. One thing to be aware of about the start line itself is it is on the shoulder of Tuckaleechee Pike. So you're on that for just a little bit before turning off onto Old Wallen Highway. And so we don't close that down. There's not a lot of traffic there, but but the road's not closed. And so we kind of just take up the shoulder. So it is kind of a choke down start. So realize that it might take a minute to get everybody across the start line. And then even once we turn on to Old Wallen Highway isn't closed either. It is an open course. Again, it's not heavily trafficked, but there are vehicles there. There are, residents that live in that area. And so there will be some traffic out there. So stay to the right, stay inside the cones and make way for vehicles that are coming and in the community, and just stay safe.
Yeah, it really is a low traffic course as far as that goes. But you'd always want to be aware, if you choose to wear headphones, just make sure you can hear, our traffic control and our volunteers, that you can hear things that are going on around you, and that you can hear our RaceJoy app, because we use RaceJoy for our tracking app. So if you have some spectators who want to track your race, whether they're there with you in Tennessee or if they're spectating and cheering you on from someplace else, if you download the RaceJoy app, so download that app before even you get there, because there's not great service. It's best to do it on your travels. Download RaceJoy, and then you'll start that when you start your race, and your spectators or anyone who wants to track you can log into it as well and follow your bib number. The benefit for you is we've built in some different messaging that's based on different GPS coordinates. So you kind of have a little audio tour guide with RaceJoy while you're using it. People have really enjoyed using it. We record some fun facts and some things about the area and the national park, and that's all built into that RaceJoy experience. So it kind of adds a fun little layer of entertainment while you're out there pushing for your half marathon, and your spectators can also track where you're at. So RaceJoy, get it downloaded before you even leave. That's a good one. So course is going to be great. You're going to have full support out there. Brett's going to make sure there's plenty of toilets at every aid station, right, Brett?
Yes, that's a must for a marathon.
A must. So you'll have plenty of porta potties, and you'll make your way down to the finish line. Brett, you talked a little bit before that the final 3 miles of this, we get off of Old Wallen Highway and we're back on the main highway, basically back on this multi-use path. And it can get a little bit sunny out there those last few miles.
It can, yeah. But it's still a beautiful part of the course.
Oh, it absolutely
like we've mentioned, Townsend is just a neat little town, and the whole course is kind of like trying to pick your favorite part of an ice cream cone. Like, yeah, there's a few parts you might like better than others, but it's all really, really good. And it's just a really neat course running along Old Wallen Highway. Some of the little cottages that are on the river are just something else. But then when you get in town and you run through Townsend, and some of the businesses are sitting out in front cheering you on, and it's just, the whole course is really just a neat course.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's so green and lush. There's trees that overhang everywhere. And even though you'll have some fewer trees in that last stretch, the last 3 miles, it's still just green and beautiful. And like you said, I love seeing the people sitting out in their chairs and cheering everybody on. The locals are just really supportive of this event. So it's good. So what can we do, Dane, when we get there? All the different things. What's your favorite thing to do when you get to Townsend? You're like, we're going to Townsend. This is what I'm going to do.
Well, I get the fried pie from the Apple Valley Cafe.
Oh, I haven't had that. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's just like a little fried pie that's served with ice cream.
Oh,
that's like my first stop.
That's your first
stop in town.
And that's on the way into town, right? That's at the far end of town, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, it's that big, it looks like a big red barn.
Yeah. Oh, that's good stuff. We've always gone to that. I think it's the Black Bear Cafe. It's like this little teeny mom and pop cafe, and it's so good. They have homemade pies there. They have homemade desserts, and they have just the best food. It's a little small mom and pop shop, so don't inundate them and be patient with them. But we love to go there. That's one of our favorite places to stop when we go. Brett, do you have any favorites in Townsend? Or are you more of a Pigeon Forge kind of guy?
So for whatever reason, it seems like the older I get, I don't really do that well on super windy roads.
Yes.
So it's a pretty awesome place to go. It's really neat. But I think I've been there once, so I'm probably okay.
It is very windy roads to get over to Pigeon Forge.
Tucalichi.
Tucalichi.
Yeah, Tuckaleechee
That
Cavern.
Caverns is super, super neat. I think every year I've been there, I've gone and checked it out again. It's pretty neat. Other than that, this year I'd like to go find a couple little short hikes or some spots on the river to play or something like that. So I'll be searching this year too.
Yeah,
So
there's go ahead.
Cades Cove
Oh,
will
yeah.
be closed this year.
Oh, okay, that's good
Yeah,
information.
it closes like the week before we're all going to get out there, so it'll be closed. But there's tons more to do in the Smokies. That's obviously like one of the big attractions, right? One of the big things that people like to go see, and there's access to a few really great hikes in there. But that'll be closed. But there's a lot of other stuff to do. Tuckaleechee Caverns. I've been in a lot of caves, like Wind Cave National Park and
Mhm.
Carlsbad Caverns and the Luray Caverns, and I think Tuckaleechee is probably like one of my favorites I've ever been in. The tour itself, it feels like they just let you do a lot. Like
I think the story behind it and how it was discovered and who just like that part of it is amazing.
Yeah,
and
so cool.
what the two did to keep it a secret until they could like buy the land, like just the whole story behind
Okay,
it.
I'm gonna have to
is
go. We haven't
amazing.
been. We haven't been. So we're
You
gonna.
haven't been?
No, we
Do you want to
haven't.
hear the story, or do you want to
I
wait
know,
until you
no,
go?
no. You can't tell the story. You can't spoil it.
Yeah, I didn't want to say too much in case somebody hasn't
No.
been there and heard the story, but the story behind it is pretty neat.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
spoil it for me. Usually when we go in, my husband and I, we've done Laurel Falls, we've hiked Mount LeConte, we've gone up and do Charlie's Bunyan, we've gone up and done
Yeah.
Clingman's Dome. So we generally get up on the Appalachian Trail and things like that. And Mount LeConte, my very favorite. You go through Alum Cave and stuff like that. It's
Yeah, there's
amazing.
a few ways to go up, but you guys went up the Alum Cave.
Yeah,
way,
we
right?
went up the Alum Cave way. There are like 3 or 4 ways that you can go up. And Mount LeConte, I almost, every time I see a picture that we use in our race guide of Mount LeConte, I'm like, no, turn it around and show them all the cabins up there. I had no idea. I got up to the top of Mount LeConte.
It's like a little village.
And I was like, what the heck is this? You can stay up there. They have, it's absolutely awesome up there. So I was so surprised. If you have a chance and you have the legs to do about a 10-mile hike, go from the Alum Cave. You get to see Alum Cave, and then you can go up to the top of LeConte. It really is. It's a great hike. It was probably one of my favorites that we did when we were in the Smokies. So, and all of this stuff that we're talking about, all these great things to do, they're all on our Spark Challenges app. You might, if you've run with Vacation Races before, you might have seen our club hikes and our trifecta activities. We've kind of, I don't want to say we've gotten rid of them. We haven't gotten rid of them. We've put them into this Spark Challenges app that helps you have even more things and more suggestions to do. And you can work and earn points doing all these activities towards your Great Smoky Mountain Explorer Club badge that we give you. It's free swag, super fun. It's another app to download, the Spark Challenges app, and you're going to see all these things we've been talking about, and you can start earning your points with that. So it's been great. I was going through the list thinking of like, okay, what have I not done? What can I do while I'm there? Oh, we did Ramsey's Cascades last year as well. That was one that we hadn't heard of, and it was great. I think it was about 6-ish miles, 5.5 miles round trip. It gets a little gnarly as far as kind of, you have to kind of a little bouldery. It's a little bit towards the back side of it. It gets a little more gnarly up the top. It's very doable, and the Cascade is phenomenal. It's huge. So if you haven't made it in there, that's over on the Gatlinburg side of things. So Dane, Brett, anything else that we're missing? I feel like we could talk about Tennessee. I love going there to visit. I love the Smokies. They're so beautiful. They're so different from where we live. You got anything else, guys?
Just in talking about things to do out there and stuff, exploretownsend.com. They've got a great website that talks about all the businesses and lots of activities and things that you can do in the area. So be sure to use that. It's a great resource.
Awesome. And Brett, what were you thinking?
I was just quickly going to say my first trip to Tennessee, I instantly fell in love with. I've never been any place like that, coming from the desert. When my wife Heidi and I got off the airplane in Knoxville that evening and drove up to our little cabin we were staying in, kind of up on a hill, we left the Vegas desert and ended up there, and we got to the little cabin and got out of the truck, and the moisture was so thick, like I could run my hands through it in the air and see it in the lights. And I've never heard bugs make that noise before. Like it was like stepping into a whole nother planet.
Yeah.
And my kids have said the same thing when they went there. They fell in love with it. And I think if we didn't live here, it would either be Montana or Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's an amazing place.
It definitely is a beautiful place. And it's funny you say about the bugs and the noise that I guess they're all katydids and cicadas and grasshoppers and things like that.
Fireflies. I'd never seen a firefly.
The fireflies are there. Yep. You can still see some of the fireflies, and they even have special fireflies. They're not out when we're there, but they have special fireflies just in the Great Smoky Mountains. But my husband said the same thing when he went there. He's like, it is so noisy at night. There's so much going on at night. So it definitely is unique, and there's so much to explore. It's the most visited park in the nation, and it's the oldest mountain range on Earth. So it's pretty cool. There's some cool stuff there. So we're excited to see you guys out there at the Great Smoky Mountain Half Marathon weekend. Again, if you need anything, you can reach out to Dane or to Brett, or just info@vacationraces.com. It's really easy to get a hold of our team. And if you need anything, we are definitely there for you, because we want you to have a great experience. We have almost a quarter of our runners coming who are first-time half marathoners. So this is going to be really exciting to have them there.
All right.
And as always, thank you so much for choosing Vacation Races, and we'll see you in Tennessee. You've been listening to the Vacation Races and Friends podcast. We'd love your feedback. Email podcast@vacationraces.com with comments, concerns, or stories you'd love to share. Make sure to watch for more episodes coming soon to vacationraces.com. This episode was produced by Colleen Rue in the Festival Sound Studio. For information about music licensing, contact Dane at vacationraces.com.